That's so funny. Yes, dear. If you were here last week when I was talking up here, I started off by telling you that I wanted to get a tattoo, which was false. That was false. It's not true. But the thought continued on throughout my week. I don't know if it did for you. So, like, as I was preaching, the one thing that stuck with me last week wasn't about forgiveness. It was, what tattoo would I get? Um, And I don't know if you're a big like tattoo person, if this is something that you are interested in, but maybe it could be a bumper sticker. It could be like a sticker or something you put on your mirror in the bathroom in the morning, so you see it every single time. I don't know, but I promise if you get this suggestion I have for you, you'll be the only one. So this is, and it's a verse. I don't know why nobody else has done this before. It's one that I promise you've never seen it on anybody else before. It's from Ephesians. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. No, submit is highlighted. So, and that's for me, not Amy. Just by the way, so she can be reminded when she sees it on me. No. Now, if you're reading that, you're like, oh my goodness, what have I wandered into? Paul obvious didn't know my husband. That's probably what my wife was thinking. As to God, submit yourselves to your own husbands. As to the Lord, that seems a bit aggressive. That seems a bit too far, right? That's like, maybe want to back off of that line a little bit. How did that sneak into the Bible? That's the question. How did that verse sneak into the Bible? You're probably figuring this out. Is written by a bunch of men, right? That's just sneak that right in there. No, actually, this is great advice, but it's great advice in context. Or if you take it out of context, it lessens. It actually twists and it's shifted into something else. But in context, it's actually really, really good advice because context absolutely matters. For example, this sentence. Let's eat kids or let's eat kids. Like that's a very big difference. I am not about cannibalism. That's just so we're clear. We're safe here. But the comma and context makes all of the difference. We are in part 4 of You'll Be Glad You Did, Timeless Advice for Troubled Times. And this is a conversation we've been having for the last several weeks where it's the idea that if you think back throughout your life and you think of those moments, those crossroad moments, those intersection moments where you did one thing or you didn't do a thing, and we have this thought, hindsight, I'm so glad that I went that direction, or I'm so glad that I didn't take that turn in my life. I didn't accept the invitation. I didn't accept the job opportunity, whatever it might be. Or maybe you're looking back and you have the wishes instead of the glads. And I wish I had done that. Or I wish I hadn't. I wish I hadn't gone there that night. I wish I hadn't pursued him or her. I wish I hadn't done that thing because I'm still paying the consequences for it today. So, really, throughout the series, what we want to figure out is that life is connected. This is something that every single parent desperately wants our children to learn. That life is absolutely connected, that today sets the table and sets the stage for tomorrow. And when it comes to our friends and relationships, this is especially true. Something that I've been teaching since I was doing student ministry, so like decades ago. Your friends determine the direction and quality of your life. And I love that Caleb is now a full grown adult with children of his own, and he can quote this to you from way back when, because this is so true. It's so important. And it doesn't stop being true once you graduate high school. It's like, well, glad I got the friendship thing done and taken care of. No, this is absolutely true as adults as well. The people that you're spending time with on a regular basis, the people that you choose to be included in your life, have a voice in your life, and they're going to move you in a direction. So choosing your friends is absolutely important because tomorrow, the friends that you surround yourself with today is going to look a specific way. If you choose unhealthy friends right now, your future is going to start to look a little bit less healthy right? Your unhealth in your friends undermines the hope that you have for your future, your dreams. This is not a moral imperative. This is not a rule. This is not a law. This is not something that you're like, oh, it's, you write it down. You have to do it this way. No, what we're talking about is just simply advice. It's not rules. It's advice. But it's advice that sits in between the rules, right? It's advice that it acts as a guardrail for the rules. Because the rules, if you break them, right, the rules in life, whether it's legal rules or whether it's just like the rules for how life works, if you break those, they have the potential to break you, to break your heart, to break your relationships. You know, we're going to talk about this next week, so come on back. You could break your bank account. Like this, these are things that could be, not next week, Memorial Day weekend, 2 weeks. Maybe you'll forget and you'll still show up anyway. Uh, but we're talking about wisdom ultimately. Wisdom that insights informed by knowledge that life is connected, right? Life is connected. What you do today matters. And not just for today, but also for tomorrow. Now, so far in our You'll Be Glad You Did journey, we've listed a couple of different unoriginal advice points. And we've listed, first of all, to listen, and then secondly, to forgive. And today, we're going to be looking more towards relationships. So if you are a married couple, this is like on the nose. This is the bullseye for you. This is the exact conversation that maybe you expected at Mother's Day instead of forgive. But I snuck it in here today. So relationships today. And or maybe it's you're in a dating relationship right now and it's moving towards marriage. Maybe it's not, you're not sure, you're still kind of working that out, but it's moving in that direction. This is also going to be very helpful for you. Or maybe you have hopes to one day be in a relationship and be part of a couple. This is the great opportunity, as well as, if you have friends, family that are married, all of this applies. This is great, in my opinion, great relationship advice. Now, the problem with great relationship advice is often we resist it, right? You don't like people. We don't like to be told what to do. It's like, no, 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 it's my thing. It's my relationship. You just kind of stay over there in your relationship, and I'll stay in mine, and we'll both be happy at the end of the day. Here's the thing that I've seen happen on a regular basis. I get asked periodically to kind of do like emergency meetings with people. Like, hey, we're having a rough go right now. Like the foundation is crumbling beneath us. What can we do? And so I meet with them. And it's interesting because if you're in one of those meetings, it's not like they're listening and hanging on my every word to try to change anything. It's that they're trying to inform me why they're right. It's like, no, no, no. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to take your advice. I don't want that. I want him to change, or I want her to change. They need to hear my voice, right? And this is so hard. Especially specifically for men. Just a heads up. We don't like to be told what to do because we want our significant other to believe all the great ideas were our ideas. It's one of those things that you're at church every once in a while, and I'll say something that might apply to your marriage, and you're like, oh, I wish you hadn't said that because that's a really good idea. And now I can't say it because my wife will know where it came from. Here's the thing, do it anyway, right? It's going to help out. Now, ladies, on behalf of the male species, please forgive us for our stupidity, our ignorance, because you already know that we desperately need to be told what to do. You try very hard to tell us what to do, right? We wouldn't need another man telling us how to run our relationships if we just listened to you. It's not this. Okay. Here's the thing. Our best ideas were your ideas that you allow us to believe were our ideas. I'm giving away trade secrets this morning. You know how this works. You're like, if I just leave the breadcrumbs out there enough, maybe he'll pick up one. And if he picks up one, maybe it'll start to move him in the direction, right? And you're like, okay, finally it's working. The plan is paying off. Human, or not just human, but male ego is a strange and fragile thing. If you haven't learned that, that's just the truth. as well as female feelings. That's strange and fragile, all the same, right? So today I'm going to suggest one piece of advice. I'm not going to give you like a whole layout, everything that you should ever do in your relationship. I'm just talking about one piece of advice. And if you follow it, if you apply it into your relationship, into your life, I promise you that your relationship on both sides will be more satisfying. Not only will it be more satisfying, it'll prepare you to go the distance together, like together. That's the whole point of the relationship. So, this principle that I'm talking about this morning is mutual submission. I wanted to highlight both words, but I was like, if it's all highlighted, then is any of it highlighted? Mutual submission is the big idea. It might be one of the most powerful relational dynamics that you ever apply in your life. This is especially true in married relationships because it raises trust, it raises cooperation, it lowers suspicion. It actually adds more transparency, more humility in the relationship. There's quicker apologies because of this, because it is mutual, both of you working together for a common goal, and that's to serve one another. I think one of the great misfortunes of the entire Bible, of the New Testament, is specifically that passage that I brought up before, because it's broadly misunderstood. You know, people misuse it all the time. Unfortunately, even church leaders like myself, we reinforce the opposite of the intention of what Paul was trying to get at. Why? Because context matters. Absolutely. So let's take another look at it. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. This has been misapplied by Christians for generations and generations. This has been mischaracterized by people that are not Christians, that are not following Jesus. They hear it and they get their hackles up, they get frustrated, they get angry, and they're like, no, that's why I don't believe, because that's that Christianity is just that misogynistic ideology all over again. But when you look at it, as we're going to look at it this morning, it's anything but that. To pull one sentence out of the entire idea, and out of the thing that Paul is trying to communicate, is to butcher the idea that he's trying to communicate. And we look at this, and there's so much of it that is like, it seems like it should be self-evident to us when we get into the mutual submission part. And it seems like, well, yeah, everybody should be equal. There should be equal value all around the board. And yet, when Paul was writing this in context, this was revolutionary. When Paul was writing this was against the grain within his society that he lived in, this concept of mutual submission. It put men and women on the same equal plane. And that's hard. That's difficult for us to comprehend because it's just what we assume that should be taking place. Now, Paul didn't come up with this idea on his own. It wasn't like this brand new idea that he had all by himself. He drew from Jesus' teachings. He gathered some ideas that Jesus actually had, essentially introduced. And this is the big idea. The verse before goes to exactly what, he means. It's the overarching statement. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. And if you jumped into that last verse without reading this verse, it would be very different. But it starts with this overarching idea of submitting to one another out of reverence for Christ, to put them first before ourselves. You're like, wait, well, once all the to-dos are done? No. Once they've earned it, then I put them first? No. Once they've made me feel happy and appreciated, no. No. You put each other first regardless of each other. You put them first even if they don't deserve it. This is why the decision to marry is such a big decision, because you choose them in spite of them. And in a marriage, it's every single day. This is why Amy is one of the most gracious people I've ever met. She has to. She's stuck with me. It's why this is such a big decision, because it's not one that you can just easily walk away from. In our family, and Larry and Margaret taught, Amy this as she was a child, and we've been instilling this within Luke as he's grown up. There's two most important decisions that you'll ever make in your life. There's two that stand above all the rest. One, to follow Jesus, and two, who it is that you marry. And why is the second one so important? Because that relationship is with you the rest of your life, right? It's choosing someone you're going to be happy choosing because you have to choose them every single day. And if you're not going to be happy choosing them, then choose someone else. Don't do it. Don't force it to happen. Following uh, the following verse is Paul's application to wives. So we have this overarching, submit to one another. And then the next verse is like, okay, party A, let's start with the women. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. It's dependent on the first statement, the overarching idea. Now, so now he gets into the specific parties, the wives first. It doesn't say that all women submit to all men. That's not what it says. And if you've been taught that, if you've understood it that way, that's incorrect. And specifically, it's not like every husband. It's specifically you, the wife, submits to her own husband, one for one. Okay, who's next? The husbands, of course. Husbands, love your wives. And if that's all I said, we're like, check in the box. Perfect. I do that. I told her last month sometime, I think. Right? That's where it's like, yeah, sure, check. Check in the box. Submission feels way harder at that point. If it's just love, okay, I love her, sure. I have those feelings every once in a while. But he doesn't stop there. He says, husbands, love your wives just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. This is no longer an emotion. This is not like the Disney heart eyes, like I fall in love with my wife. This is a choice that I make every single day to treat her with the same type of love that Jesus had for the church, to give himself up for his ecclesia, for his followers, for you and for me. This love had been defined that Paul writes about, and it's been defined clearly. It's been exemplified. It's been defined by Jesus' teachings. It's been exemplified by his life and his actions. So, what did that look like? He put the church first, and then he laid down his life for it. So, with that in mind, here's some Jesus inspired advice: defer to one another. Defer to one another. And this doesn't mean that you don't have an opinion any longer. This doesn't mean that you don't make a choice anymore. That you're just like, yeah, whatever. You decide all the things. I don't have an opinion. It means that in spite of your own opinion, you elevate theirs above yours. I mean, think about it this way. And this is, I think happens pretty naturally within marriage because we get so familiar with the person that we fell in love with. We get so familiar with all the time and the hours and the days and the years that we spend with them that we lose some of the shine, some of the awe when we look at them. If you could imagine your favorite famous person ever, whether that's like a musician, whether that's a movie star, whoever it might be, an athlete, like your favorite person walks in the room, walks up to you, shakes your hand, and says, congratulations, you've won whatever competition, contest this is. I get to spend the day with you. Okay, when you meet them, you're going to defer to them. You're not going to say, great, I've got a full schedule, come along with me. You're going to say, what would you like to do? Where would you like to eat? What type of food do you want to have? I'll change my schedule. I'll change everything. I will shift whatever I have on my plate today to yours. And you'll be happy about it. You'll be excited to sacrifice for them. How many times in our marriages today, depending on, this might depend on how long you've been in a marriage, but how many times do you get down to and you're like, but can't you do the thing? Is it easier for you? Yeah, it seems like you have a more flexible, or maybe it just works with your schedule. Right? Like, how many times do we do that? Do we push off onto them just because it's easier for us? I am so guilty of this all the time. It's like, yeah, but that's kind of your thing, right? I mean, you got that. I don't offer, I expect. That's a problem. Our preferences should defer to them. So this ultimately, at the end of the day, becomes a submission competition. Both sides trying to submit to one another, trying to defer to one another, trying to serve the other person. And I know at at the outright, that just kind of sounds ridiculous. Like, come on. Is that a real thing? People don't actually do that. That doesn't make sense. But isn't this how you won them over to start with? I mean, you tried to do whatever you could to make them feel loved, to get your attention, to get their attention. Not only is this how you won them over, this is actually how you want to be treated. So don't be a hypocrite on this. If this is the way that you want to be treated, then you should also be treating them the same way. Now, if you're in here this morning and you're not a Jesus follower, you haven't stepped across the line of faith, first of all, love that you're here. This is optional for you. This isn't like, I've got to do this. This is just a choice. Like, yep, I can go along with that or not. Player's choice. However, here's my challenge for you. Try it. If you're in a relationship, just try it. Try it for a week. Try it for 2 weeks. Try it for a month and just see what happens. Like, okay, we're just going to do this like sociology test. Let's just see what happens in the relationship when I start to defer to them. What's that going to do? Here's my guarantee. This is my guarantee for you. If you do this, your life and your relationship will absolutely 100% get better. It will improve. You will feel a greater connection with them, even though you're sacrificing more for them. If you are a Jesus follower, this hits a little bit different. Let's dig a layer deeper, actually. Notice what Paul doesn't say. He doesn't say, submit to one another out of reverence for one another. That would be conditional. It's like, okay, well, as long as they deserve it, then I will. I will if they will. It's kind of the if-then idea. Paul is actually applying the law of Christ to relationships. That we love one another as God, through Christ, has loved us. Which means that when they're having a bad day, a bad attitude, that doesn't mean I don't submit any longer. That doesn't mean I wait for them to have a better attitude. That means that just as consistently as ever, because God's love for me and his choice to sacrifice me has not changed. And I'm choosing to elevate, to submit to defer to my wife, not because it's easy, not because of her performance, but because of what God has done on my behalf. Submit to one another out of reverence for Christ, what Jesus has already done for you and for me. We should live in response to this. This isn't trying to earn it, trying to pay it back in recognition, like, okay, I've got to be good enough in order to earn that gift. It's not that at all. The gift's already been given. You've already received it. It's already in play. You can never earn it. You can't do enough good to earn it back. But you can live in recognition in response to that gift that Jesus has given us. Paul actually wrote another letter to some Christians in Philippi, still speaking about relationships. Philippians chapter 2, verse 5. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. He doubles down on this idea. Right? We take our relational cues not from society, not from the current of the world around us, but from Jesus and Jesus alone. We're not taking our cues from broken people. Right? One of my favorite questions to ask is, well, which marriage advice are you taking from the world around you? Like, how's that working out for them? Do they have the best relationship that you've ever seen? Then why are you doing the same thing if they're broken also? We're not following society. If you're a Jesus follower, it's not like our relationships are separate from that decision. If you're a Jesus follower, you follow him absolutely within your marriage relationship as well. That this is the direction, this is the way we do this. We take our cues from Jesus. He continues, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage. Right? Jesus is fully God, fully man. I know that's hard. That's a hard one to kind of like fully understand. But he could have played the God card at any moment. I mean, think about how hungry the disciples were all the time. They walked everywhere. He could have just snapped his fingers and there'd have been this massive like food layout in front of them, this feast. That could have happened easily. He never did it once. They could have walked into like a restaurant. I don't know if there's like super restaurants back then, but he could have walked in and been like, hey, I've got 13 plus a few stragglers. We would like a table. And they're like, yeah, sorry, we're full. Yeah, but do you know who I am? I mean, I'm the Son of God. I'm Jesus. I don't know if you knew this. I'm kind of a big deal. I would like the corner table. Please, by the window. Yes, and clean it first. He could have done that. He never leveraged it once. I mean, I already said they walked everywhere. Think of what he could have done miraculously for them, like just in transportation. Like, boom, bicycle. That's so much easier. I'm not even talking about like a motorized vehicle. Let's just ride some bikes. He could have. He never did once. He never played the God card. Rather, he made himself nothing by taking the very nature of a servant. Even though he deserved, even though, by every right he was above and beyond, he lowered himself below. Are we lowering ourselves in our own relationships? Not to be a doormat, but are we elevating them over ourselves? Are we below them by serving them in this way? A Christian relationship isn't just two people that agree on what they believe. It's not like, oh, you believe in Jesus? Yeah, me too. Okay, we're good. Check the box. There's something different at play. It's following Jesus. Two people submitted to God that in their submission to God also submit to one another. And that's why it needs to be mutual, both at the same time, at the same place. That's what creates the healthy nature of the relationship. If it's only one, there's going to be trouble. It's going to be harder. There's going to be a struggle. Two people with their lives deferring to one another. If you're single in here and you're trying to find someone right now, or maybe you're not trying to find someone, but someday maybe, and you're looking around and in the initial conversation, first of all, this is a pretty big topic. If you're a Jesus follower, Jesus should come up when you're debating whether to date someone or not. Like hey, what are your thoughts on Jesus? Because he's a pretty big deal for me. Let's make sure our values are, on par. But just because someone has gone to church before or has said a prayer at some junior high camp before does not mean and equate to them following Jesus. You know this. I probably don't even need to say it. We've all met Christians that have said the prayer, that believe the thing, but don't live the way. And they hurt people. There's a wake of brokenness behind them in every single relationship. Why? Because they are the most important person in their own life. They are the person that they make sure that everybody else submits to. That's not going to lead into a healthy, mutual submission relationship. Someone who has placed Jesus as king in their life, submits to him, commits to treating others the way that God, through Jesus, treats us, by deferring to one another. We put them first. We continue to pursue them. We continue to honor them, to respect them. Humility wins the day when it comes to relationships. Pride, always poison. Humility wins, pride is poison. Selfishness is kryptonite in a relationship. When you prioritize yourself, it gets a whole lot more difficult because you're never going to be valued as high as you think you should. You're never going to make it, and you're always going to be frustrated with them. So change that around. Try to elevate them above yourself. Try to love them not as you think they deserve, but as your heavenly Father has done for you and for them. I mean, think about that. Jesus paid with his life for them. What are you doing? Well, she needs to clean the kitchen. What are you doing? Right? We look for ways to make them right. I love the guy in the bumper that Andrew Stanley was interviewing. He's like, yeah, you just say yes, dear, all the time. You look for ways to make them right. You don't look for ways to make them wrong. You look for ways to make them right, even if it makes you wrong. And when you do that, you're elevating them. You're honoring them. You're loaning your strength in the place of their weaknesses. And it starts with a very, very, very simple and easy question, yet kind of difficult to walk out. What can I do to help? How can I help carry your burden? How can I lighten the load for you today? How can I prioritize you in this moment? Yeah, I've got a lot on my plate too, but what you have is more important to me than what I have. How can I make things easier for you right now? This is not about justice. This is not about equality, one for one, but simply, how can I help you? It's by serving one another. And I know, I get it. It's so unnatural. It's so uncomfortable. Amy and I've been married almost 21 years, and it's not like it's a cakewalk. I love my wife. It's my favorite part of my life. And yet every single day I have to struggle, not with her, but with my own human nature. That's hard, and I fail all the time. I place me first so easily, so quickly. Why? Because that's natural. That's what we do. But that's not what Jesus did. Here's the other scary part about this question. They're going to have an answer for you. And if you ask it, you have to act on it. You can't say, "How can I help you?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm glad you asked. I've got 3 things that I would love for you to take off my plate." And you're like, "Yeah, let's try this again tomorrow." Here's what's going to happen. You ask this question, they're going to have an answer. You have to say no to yourself to say yes to them. Because you've got plans, you've got thoughts, you've got ideas. You're like, "How can I help you today?" And inside you're like, "I really hope that you just say, by sitting down and watching a movie for me, let's get pizza and just eat in." Like if that's the way that I can help you, I'll do that every day of the week. But when it's get my elbows dirty, like get in there, do something that's hard, do something proactively. When I have to say no to myself, that's so difficult. It's so challenging. Like I said, if you're a Jesus follower, if you're someone that has prioritized Jesus in your life, you accepted him as your Lord and Savior, you've stepped across the line of faith and you've decided to live your life in his direction. This relationship business is all underneath the umbrella of following Jesus. This isn't, "I'm going to do my own way because it's worked before," minimally. This is deciding that I'm going to trust that what God has done for me is going to be what's best for my relationship as well. I'm going to take my notes and my cues from him. That this is the vibe that we carry in our relationships, to defer to one another. When it comes down to it, I'm going to defer. I'm not going to demand, I'm going to defer. And here's my promise again. You'll be glad that you did. Got some discussion questions for this morning. What's your initial response to the notion of making a relationship a submission competition? Have you ever thought about that before? You ever heard that before? What is your initial "Well, that's not going to be fair"? Okay, well, that's the whole thing. If you're in competition trying to submit and serve the other person, well, what do you think? What do you feel about that? Secondly, how would you characterize your parents' relationship? Was it tug of war? Was it dad's rule? Maybe it was mom. They deferred to one another. Is it something else? What did that look like? That sets the tone and the foundation for your relationship. That's what you're going to expect to have happen in yours. And here's the thing, if you hadn't thought about this, I'm sure you have, but I'll say it anyway. If you have children in the home, they are watching you and taking their cues from you. They're learning what marriage and what relationships are like. And one of the greatest gifts that you can give your children is not to give them whatever they want, but actually to give them the example of a healthy marriage. Why? So that hopefully they can choose to also have a healthy marriage, and for the rest of their lives, they are happy and content and at peace and have God in the midst of their relationship as well. Last question. How have you seen either of these two statements play out in relationship? Either yours or others. Pride is poison. Humility wins the day. That should be enough to get the conversations going. Let me pray, and we'll get you all out of here. Dear Heavenly Father, we are so grateful for the gift of marriage, the gift of relationship. And truly, it is one of the greatest gifts that we can ever receive. God, I pray that we would see it that way, that we could cherish it that way, that we would know that this person that we've committed to is someone deserving of love. Even when we don't think that they've done enough, even when we see that they've lacked, even when we're questioning that, God, I pray that you would remind us that we don't submit, we don't serve them because of if they've done enough. We prioritize them because you have, because you've done that for us. And because of that, we live in response to that, and especially within this most important relationship. So, God, I pray that you would show us the way, that you would give us the wisdom of how to walk this out, and you would give us the boldness and the courage to take those steps. God, we love you. Thank you for everything that you do for us. In your name that we pray. Amen. Thanks for being here with us. Don't forget, next week, Memorial Day. We'll see you in 2 weeks.